Is a farmer in Western Canada right now who's looking at their balance sheet and they're doing the math, and the math doesn't work. And somewhere in that spiral between the operating loan and the lease payment and the input invoice that they can't quite cover, he or she has started to wonder whether the problem is the farm or whether the problem is them, or maybe they've worked all their life to develop a significant amount of wealth and material holdings, but in the end, it did not fill their cup, and they don't know why. The farm and the person have become the same thing. That is what nobody's talking about. That is what we're going to be talking about this morning. Welcome to Growing the Future Productions. You Are Not Your Farm live event. We are live on YouTube right now. Welcome to You Are Not Your Farm. You Are Not Your Tractor. You can like, subscribe, and turn notifications on. It really helps the channel. If you know a farmer who needs to hear this, or anybody that needs to hear this, share it with them before you do anything else today. I want to share a little bit before I introduce my esteemed guest today. At the beginning of this year, about the challenges that I had. I was definitely a broken man, and I'd spent 10 years building a company that more or less got erased to zero with an email. And so in the new year, I'd started over, and somewhere in that stretch, I took a leadership course, and I ended up doing a vision board, and I did core values work, and I showed up to things that maybe a couple years ago I wouldn't have been comfortable. But I want that kind of opening of your heart for all of you on the call today, because something got cracked open. I don't know exactly what it was, but I really worked on stopping tying my net worth as a person to my company. And no matter the output that that person has, professionally, personally, you're still worth it. And that's what I want you to take away from the call today. So here's what the data says about mental health in agriculture. Farmers die by suicide at rates significantly higher than the general population. Agriculture consistently ranks among the highest risk occupations in Canada and the United States, and the ratio of men to women in those numbers are roughly 3 to 1. 3 to 1. So think about who's in this room. Think about the person just down the road who haven't talked to for a while because things have been tight. Think about what that means to the person who defines themselves by what they produce. So agriculture doesn't always necessarily have a cash flow crisis. It could have an identity crisis, and the cash flow problem's making it worse. So welcome. Please put your questions or comments into the chat. And I just want to mention I have 6 partners who make this platform possible: Bone Trail Originals, Crop Aid Nutrition, Hammond Realty, Grip, MNP Ag Intellect, and Convergence Conference 2027, February 2nd to 4th in Regina. And the person I'm about to introduce was at the last event, and that's how we got to know each other. Corliss Rassyle grew up a Saskatchewan farm girl, third of 8 children. She spent 30 years in business, rebuilt her life from scratch at 40 as a single mother of 3, launched her consulting company at 46, published her book, Lead Your Life, at 47, founded the Lead Conference Canada at 53. 10 days ago, she did her TED Talk, Why Find Your Purpose is the Wrong Advice. And it's been a big hit on YouTube ever since. And her thesis, and this is why she's here today, is that purpose is not something you find. It's something you recognize and you choose. And the reason most people never get there is they are looking for it on the outside. Does that sound familiar? Welcome to the show, Corliss.
Wow, what an intro. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's amazing. So this TED Talk that you gave, I think should resonate in the farming community because you told a story about your mother that I think we can all relate to. What did your mother say one day looking out the window after everything that she had built and accomplished? What took you aback and stopped you cold when you heard her say it?
Well, first of all, my mom rarely cries. She's a tough woman and she's a strong woman, and if she cries, she doesn't do it in front of us kids. So one day we were getting ready for Easter brunch. So the guys were outside, doing whatever the guys do when we're prepping brunch, and the kids are playing, and my mom and my sisters and I were all hanging out in the kitchen, getting brunch ready, and we're talking about our busy lives. Me and my sisters are talking about our careers, we're talking about our families, we're talking about all our things going on in our lives. And I looked over as I see my mom making pancakes. She's at the griddle, and my mom is crying. And we were all stunned because, like I say, we barely ever see my mom cry. So, of course, I asked her, Mom, what's wrong? And what she said really did stop us in our tracks. She said, I've done nothing with my life. Now, you have to understand, this is a woman who's worked alongside my dad on the farm. They built a business, as farmers. They raised 8 kids. From our perspective, my mom was very accomplished in her life. Even her kids, if you look at the kids and the independent children that she raised and the values that she raised us with, and yet by her measure, she felt like she'd done nothing with her life. So that was a pivotal moment, not only for my mom, but for our entire family, where I started really studying it even deeper. Why do we feel like we're not successful, no matter what we do in our lives? And that's kind of what brought me here today and what brought me to share that message on the TEDx.
Why do we get that wrong? Why are we using the wrong metrics? And how can we start using the right metrics, Corliss?
Well, it is conditioning. So if we go back in time, to the very beginning, the environments that we grew up in and the environments that our families came from, we were all taught and conditioned and programmed to believe certain things. So it's like you work really hard at this, and then you achieve this, and then you're successful. So we have to kind of unravel the whole thing and go back to the very beginning and understand where we even come from and where this conditioning comes from, because we fall into patterns. So we fall into these patterns of belief systems that we were conditioned to believe before we even knew that we should believe those things and that they weren't good for us. So we start chasing these things. We have to do these things. This is how we're successful in life. This is how we're successful as a human being. And we don't stop and interrupt that thought pattern and even say to ourselves, why do I believe this anymore? And that is certainly something that my mom had to do, with the TEDx stage. What I realized, even as I was talking with my mom and as I was developing that talk to bring it to the world, what I realized was happening is that my mom's feeling of, I have no purpose, my life isn't important, I've done nothing with my life, is that she believed that everything outside of her was going to determine her value as a human being. And it wasn't until we stopped and we talked about that and we looked at it that we understood that our value as a person, our purpose in life, simply because we're here. I truly believe that if our purpose is fulfilled, our life is done here. So we're here, we have purpose, and we don't have to prove it. We don't have to try and gain it. We literally have it. And it's because of where we come from, our conditioning, our programming, the environments that we've been passed down from generation to generation, that we've come to believe that we have to get it outside of ourselves. And that's actually not where it lives. And that's why it's temporary. Does that make sense, Dan?
Yeah, we just lost you a little bit at the end there. I think your connection was a
Oh,
little bit
okay.
dial up there for a second, but I think you're okay now. We got you. So,
Okay. Okay.
so you said to me when we talked about what we were going to, share on this chat, nothing external is ever going to fill a hole inside of you. So, what will fill this need that we all have for purpose, especially in an age? Let's face it.
Hmm.
If you live in Saskatchewan, Corliss, you are the richest person on planet Earth by capita for the amount of resources that we have. Is that not good enough? By that metric, shouldn't we all be really happy and clicking our heels on the yellow brick road here?
Oh, this is a loaded topic. So, okay, so I want to take you back to understanding where we've arrived at. So, first of all, when I talk about the environments and the conditioning and the programming that we've had, these are all subconscious things. Like, we don't realize that they're happening. So when we were children, depending on what environment we were in, society, was teaching a certain thing. We were exposed to, messages on the news. We were exposed to conversations that were happening around the kitchen table. We had all these things that were happening outside of us. And we were taking that in as children, as young adults. We were taking that all in, and we were developing a belief system. Now, belief is something that we've accepted as truth. So it's like you see it, you hear it, you think it, and you take it in, and you're like, okay, I believe that, and it becomes your belief system. So depending on where we come from and how healthy the environments were that we grew up in, that's going to determine a lot of what we bring into adulthood. Now, the challenge is sitting in there in the backlog, and we don't even realize that those belief systems are still dominating our lives right now because they're coming from our subconscious mind. So what we need to do is we need to pause long enough, just like we are today, to examine those beliefs and to decide, is that a belief that I still want to hold? Do I still choose to believe that? Because sometimes we don't realize we actually have a choice, that we don't have to believe those things, that we can actually accept a new thought and create a new belief around something. So as we're, developing as children into young adults, because we've been conditioned and programmed to believe that it's outside of us, we have to have so much money in the bank, we have to try and have a certain type of home, we have to have some kind of family, because those things are there and we've been chasing those things. We go and we get those things, and it only feels good for a moment. It's like, oh yeah, this is good. Is this it? Is this all my life's supposed to be? Is this it? Is this what success looks like? And somewhere deep inside, we feel just a little bit unfulfilled, because now we have that. Now we have to chase the next thing. Now we got to go to the next thing, because we've been told that it's programmed and conditioned to believe that it's external, it's outside of us, where we're going to feel happy and fulfilled on the inside, and that's where purpose lives. So it's only temporary, because we have to keep going after the next thing, after the next thing, after the next thing. And then we always come up short. It feels good for a little bit, and then it's like, okay, now what else? Whereas if we peel that back and say, you know what? I don't need something external to validate me as a human being. And we can start reconditioning ourselves and retraining our belief system to believe that we're actually whole and worthy and complete just as we are. We don't have to have those external things that they're actually to be worthy or to be enough. We actually already have it. And then the external things are now something that we're doing by choice instead of by default.
I love it. So tell us the 1111 story, Corliss.
Oh, okay. I didn't know you were going to bring that up today.
Oh, surprise.
So, okay, I do want to tell you about that. So, as Dan did the introduction, he shared that I'm the founder of Lead Conference Canada. So, Lead Conference Canada, the whole philosophy of that program is that it's much bigger than me. So even from the moment that I had the vision, that I got the idea that I wanted to create this experience for Canadians, where it was like an immersive personal development experience where you come together as human beings for a shared experience, and we go within ourselves and we discover who we really are, and we examine our beliefs, and we make the shifts that we want to make to move forward with our lives. It's very immersive, but it's also all focused on the person. So there's many conferences that have elements of personal development. There's none in Canada that have an immersive 2-day experience that's really focused on you as a person. So my philosophy around the 1,111 guests, because that's my goal to actually have in that room, it is that each one represents something. So the first one represents you, so the power of you, and then there's the power of me, and then there's the power of something greater at work, which is the third one. And the fourth one is about the power of us all coming together. So the goal, when it came to me, it was like 1,111, because I totally believe in everything being guided, that we're all going to have the right people in the room, and that there's going to be 1,111 of us. So I set this goal, I get this feeling, and it's one of those experiences, Dan. Have you ever had that where you get chills all over your whole body? It's like it kind of hits you, and you're like, whoa, okay, I feel this. Like I feel it in every ounce of my being. So I went to the venue, and I was thinking about this 1,111 goal. The venue actually holds over 2,000 people. My goal is 1,111. But as a speaker, when I'm on the stage, what happens or how I connect to my audience is I always connect to the person in the back of the room. Now, sometimes I don't know who that person is, but what I mean is when I'm on the stage, I get really centered on the person at the back of the room, and I kind of envision them, and I think about what they struggle with, what they're working through, what I could possibly say that would support them. So I get into that place within myself and kind of visualize it and feel it. I feel that kind of energy of what that person in the back row would be feeling. So when I went to the venue, I went and sat in the very back row to experience being the guest. So I'm sitting in the back row, and honestly, I was like, I don't like this seat. I don't like it at all. It's really dark back here. There's an overhang, from the balcony above. The sound isn't really good. And I'm like, I don't want any of my guests sitting in this back row. So I started moving up in the rows. And as I'm moving up in the rows, I'm sitting in this row, several rows forward. And I was like, yep, this is the row. This is the back row. We're not even going to sell tickets in that very back of the theater. And as I was sitting there, I asked them, how many seats are to this point? And she said, well, we don't actually know. We'll have to get the map and count it because we don't actually know. No one's ever asked us that before. And it turns out that when you add the balcony and that row, it comes out to 1,110 seats. And I was like, wow, that's crazy. That's crazy because then there's
Spooky.
me on the stage. So that ends up being 1,111. So that's the story behind that. And that's what the vision is. And I just totally feel like that's exactly what's going to happen. All the right people are going to be in that room.
I'm going to be in that room. We're sponsoring, so I can't wait to feel that energy. And I'm so proud of you for taking that leap. You're a huge inspiration. And you were telling me in our conversation, you did workshops recently with hundreds of folks in the audience where you walk them through all kinds of crazy stuff. Is there a way we have a little bit of a live studio audience? I can be your guinea pig too. Are you able to show some of that magic and what it is that you're able to make people reflect on? And do we have a question for the audience of maybe where you usually go with your workshops? Because you're a master at this. You've handled rooms for hours at a time. We've got a live studio audience here today. What would you ask them?
I would ask them the same thing that I asked the audience that I just spoke with on Wednesday night. And I spoke for 90 minutes. And you know what was so funny about that, Dan? I was like, okay, I'm running over time. Like I knew I was, but people had questions. And, so I said, I'm going to stop. And someone yelled from the back of the room, please don't stop talking.
Really?
I was
Like an
like, that's
encore, a rock and
that's
roll
super
encore.
that's super funny and super humbling, and it was really special. Anyway, I'll always remember that. I've never had that happen before. So here's the thing. So my story, even though I'm born and raised on the farm, but not a farmer. But it doesn't matter what career we do, to be honest. Underneath, sometimes we feel like we have to do more, do more, do more, achieve more, become more. It's always about more. And it's like underneath all of that, if you really peel back the layers, it's like, why do you feel like you have to do that? So I did my own journey with this where it was like underneath when I started peeling back the layers and saying, why do you have to keep doing more and doing more and doing more, and then it still feels like it's not enough? Well, underneath it, if I really was honest with myself, it was because I felt like I wasn't enough. So, because I felt like I wasn't enough, I had to keep trying to prove that I was. And that's where it really came from. And I think it comes from for a lot of people. It's like you do more and you do more, and then it's not enough, which translates, I must not be enough. So now I have to try even harder and I have to pick myself up and keep on going. And the belief that we really need to examine around that is, why do I feel that way? And it was actually at Lead Conference. So I'm going to take you back to Lead Conference Canada 2023. When I was on the second day, I opened the conference with a conversation with Christina Kuzmich. Now, Christina Kuzmich is probably the most humble, massive internet sensation ever. She's got 1 billion plus YouTubers or YouTube views. Like, she is massive. And Christina had spoken the night before, and then the next morning, I knew people were going to want more from her, so I had planned for her to actually interview her the next morning. So I came out on the stage and I was like welcoming everybody, and then I welcomed Christina to the stage. And she came out and she waved at everybody, had fun with them. And then she looked at me on the stage and said, "Do you see what you've done here?" And I said, "Yeah, it's good, hey." Like, I just kind of minimized it and was like, "Yeah, it's good." And she said, "No, no, no. Do you see what you've done here?" And the way she said it kind of stopped me in my tracks. And I said, "Yeah, I guess it is great." And we sat down and I said to her, it's interesting because all weekend and all the time, people are always saying, "You've helped me so much. You've impacted my life. The people that I've coached, the people that I've spoken for, they thank me for that." But what I do is I minimize it. And it was on that stage with Christina looking me right in the eye, right there in front of everyone. I said, I feel like I was having a counseling session right there in front of everyone.
Right.
But it was right there that I had to really say to myself, why can't I give that to myself? Why is it that I feel like no matter what I do, it's not enough? And even when it's right there, the evidence is right there in front of me, I still feel like it's not enough. And that was the work for me. Since that conference, since that moment on that stage, I had to step away from that and really start examining the beliefs around, why do I feel that way about myself? Why do I feel like no matter what I do, it's never enough? And as I started working on that, I started peeling back the layers of where that even comes from. And then I moved into, I just choose not to believe that anymore. I'm going to give myself permission to believe that I am enough. I don't have to prove anything. I'm enough exactly as I am. And I had to start really working on that. And that's actually been the journey. So the question that I would ask the audience to ponder is, what belief system are you holding right now? What beliefs are you holding about yourself right now? Where do those come from? And then, is that the best belief for you to continue to carry about yourself?
Does everybody know that you can actually change your thoughts, that you could change your beliefs, and that really everything in your life is a product of that? You talked about it at the convergence stage, and I realized, at the end of my business, there's a reason it ended, because my thoughts, had translated to my actions had translated to results, and it's actually a vicious chain. Now we're going in the other direction because you've had an impact on my life. But
Thanks.
talk about that.
Well, it is true. I don't think that people know this information. As a matter of fact, not that long ago, I was actually doing a meeting with someone, and I was talking away, doing my thing, and they work for me. So I was doing this conversation, and I said, "Okay, I've got to put out more training videos, and I've got to do more." And she's like, "Corliss, I need to just tell you, in this last 30 minutes," she said, "you've already taught me like 6 things in here, and you don't even realize that you're doing it." And it was so good that she brought that awareness to me, because without that awareness, I've been doing this work for so long that I've forgotten people don't know this stuff. So I'm grateful that you're saying, "Okay, Corliss, bring it back to people don't even know this stuff." So let me teach you a few things here. So the first one is that we all have thoughts, okay? So throughout the day, as a matter of fact, scientists have actually studied the brain, and we think 50 to 70,000 thoughts per day. So that the normal human brain, 50 to 70,000 thoughts per day. Now, if you're an overthinker like myself, hundreds, thousands of thoughts. And here's the thing, most of these thoughts you're not aware of. Okay, there's the conscious thought, and then there's the subconscious thoughts, the ones that are. So you're thinking these thoughts. Matter of fact, you're thinking probably 3 thoughts right now, even as you're listening to me. So it's like we're always thinking. Our brains are just this mechanical thing that's always thinking, it's always moving. So as it's moving, as it's thinking, it's creating these feelings, these emotions. Okay, so every thought has an emotion attached to it. It either makes you feel good or makes you feel not so good. Okay, so we have all these thoughts that are playing. They create emotions, and the emotions are really our life experience, right? Are you a happy person? Well, if you're a happy person, chances are you've got some pretty happy thoughts. Are you a depressed person? It's probably because you're thinking depressing thoughts, even though you don't realize that you are. So it's creating your life experience because you have these feelings that come from those thoughts. Those thoughts create the feelings, and the feelings really create your actions. So you behave in certain ways. You bring a certain energy based on how you feel, right? So that right there causes your results. So our thoughts create our emotions create our actions create our results. So what we need to do is first of all, and get very aware of the thoughts that we're thinking. A lot of them are subconscious. That's why we do the work, because we do the work to understand where we come from and what the subconscious programming is, because those thoughts are living, breathing things that are actually causing our lives right now. So that's kind of the process. So if I had a chart right now, it would go at the top, thoughts, and then emotions, and then actions, and then results. And this would tie that our direct results in our lives are connected to the thoughts that we think. So that's just simply how it works. So just as an example in my own life, I've already talked about not feeling enough. So when I would think these thoughts, consciously or subconsciously, I'd be thinking it's not enough. Okay. So you can imagine if you're thinking I'm not enough, you would feel desperate, you would feel sad, you would feel lonely, you would feel all these things. So then that would then make me feel like I needed to prove that I was, because I wanted to feel different. So then I would start acting in very demanding ways of myself. I would work myself to the bone. I would be exhausted, right? I do all these things, and that would cause results. Yeah, I'd get a result in my life, meaning I might succeed in a business because I pushed myself. But really, the result is I'm completely exhausted and depleted, and it still feels like it's not enough. Okay? So, thoughts, whatever thoughts you're having, are creating your emotions. Your emotions are creating how you act, and that's causing your results in your life. So, everything begins in the mind. Now, Dan, you've never heard this before because I've actually just developed this. So, I call it the 5 A's because our thoughts are the beginning of everything. You are literally creating your life based on what you think about. You can make it real in your own mind, because if you think it enough, you're going to believe it, and it's creating your life experience. The problem is that most people aren't aware of what their thoughts are. So because they're not aware of what their thoughts are, it's just happening by default. So we need to become aware of these thoughts that we have, either conscious or subconscious, okay? So the first A is to become aware. What are the thoughts that I'm actually thinking about this? What do I actually believe about this? So this is where we have to begin. You have to become aware. You cannot change your life. You cannot better your life if you're not even aware of it. You're just kind of going about your day and life is leading you instead of the other way around. So you have to get aware. That's the first A. The next step is just to acknowledge it. So what I've watched happen for myself and for many of the people that I've worked with over the years is that they become aware of it, and then they don't just acknowledge it, they use it as a weapon to beat themselves up. Why do you do that again? And there you go again. And you get really hard on yourself. And it's like, I don't want you to do that. That is not serving you. It's not serving anyone else. Become aware of it and simply acknowledge it. Just acknowledge it. That is something that I used to believe. That is something that, I've realized about myself. That's it. You just simply acknowledge it. The next A is to now say, do I want to continue to believe that, by assessing it? So it's like you're aware of it and you acknowledge it, and then assess for yourself, is this actually what I want to continue believing? Or do I want to change my thought around this? You can change your thoughts anytime you choose. They're yours. As a matter of fact, no one can change it except for you. I would love to impress upon you that you could change your life by changing your thoughts. I'd love to do that. But guess what? It's not up to me. It's up to you. So become aware of the thoughts, acknowledge them, and then assess if that's what you want to do next. And then the fourth one is to actually affirm something different. So I teach the 5 most powerful sentences. The 5 most powerful sentences begin with, I am, I can, I will, I release, and I forgive. Whatever follows that is going to become your truth. Okay? So I am, you can affirm something different. I am enough, as an example. I am powerful. I am. Whatever it is that you say is going to become your truth. So you become aware of the thought, you acknowledge it, you assess, I don't really want that anymore. That doesn't work for me. Then you affirm something different by speaking differently to yourself, remembering that when you affirm it, you're actually planting a seed in your mind of a new belief. So by affirming it, you now have started the process of changing the results in your life. And then the fifth one is to accept it. Now, the acceptance part in my journey has actually been the hardest part. Actually allowing that to come in and to say, I don't want to do that anymore. I'm going to accept this. I'm going to allow this to come in. And believe it or not, it's actually my brother, who I lost a couple of years ago, who taught me this. Because one of the things I realized about myself through my brother was he was trying to help me, and I couldn't accept it. And what I realized in that, when he said to me, he said, Corliss, why won't you let me help you? And again, I had to really examine that belief. Not only could I not ask for help, but I couldn't even accept it when it was offered to me. And that started a whole other journey of examining my beliefs. You see, he made me aware by asking me that question. And that awareness sent me on a journey of acknowledging where it comes from, assessing that I no longer want to do that. I don't want to believe that or think that anymore. And affirming something different that I openly accept and embrace the support when it's offered to me. And I'm gracious and I'm grateful for that. And I had to accept it. I had to really learn to accept that and let myself actually feel that and believe it. Sometimes when people do affirmations, it feels so fake because they're not accepting it. So that's the 5 A's. I hope that supports whoever is listening.
That's a great framework, and I haven't heard that before. And I could see the evolution of what we were talking about earlier in the year. My experience was working with you and Trevor. Trevor and his story was evidence of how powerful this is, because he went through building a huge company, having everything on paper, hundreds of employees, millions of dollars of wealth, all the power that a professional person could want.
Yeah.
And he ended up on the bathroom floor. We just released the podcast there. And you two, when I came on the course, you're doing all this woo-woo affirmation stuff. And I'm like, yeah, as if. But when I look back now, you guys taught me through some of my darkest times, I was saying this stuff, because everything else your crazy mind is saying is just a habit. It's a rut. But you can change that. And I did the vision board. I did the core values. I changed my thoughts, and I feel like it's really had a big impact. So, and the people in the course, they were all men. That course was all men. I did a little breakdown at the beginning of the course, and that kind of, I think everybody felt that it was obviously going to be a pretty vulnerable class, but we all had these common issues. We all have this commonality of what we go through, and we all have these like ruminating thoughts about people and situations that are so toxic, and you go to work with them every day, and that's what you convey to people. No wonder we're miserable to each other often.
Yeah.
Talk to me more about the affirmations and what that breaks down to. Like, what does it take to break the habit? I think it's a habit like anything else.
It is a habit. And that's why you need to be aware first. So we become aware of these thoughts. We have to have an awareness. So when you came into that class and you started hearing the other stories and you started examining, the thoughts that were making you feel so bad, that was the first thing. Like, you have to become aware of it. If you think about it, it's like you're not aware, you can't change it. It's just going on. It's just playing as by default, and we don't understand why we feel so empty or for so disconnected or unhappy at the end of the day, right? So you need to become aware, and that's what you did there. Now so the affirmation part. So I really mean it, that this is the 5 A's. It's a framework, but I promise you this can happen in a minute. Like, when you get really good at it, you can start becoming aware of how do you feel, and you can just quickly acknowledge it and say, you know what? I don't want to do that anymore. Quick assessment. And then you affirm something different. You change the thought by affirming something different, what you actually do want. And that is going to, if you allow that in with the acceptance, it all happens in like literally a minute or seconds when you get really good at this, because we do all struggle. If there's one thing I've learned, male, female, doesn't matter your title, your role, where you come from, where you're going, underneath as human beings, we're all the same. And we experience so many of the same things. We feel the same things. We want the same things. And we don't understand how to get there. So we are not our titles. We are not our roles. We're not anything external. We are what we say we are inside. So this is where you do the affirmation work, where at first it might feel really fake. But you have to understand something, and people quit before they get there. And it makes me so sad. I'm like, please don't stop. Please don't stop. Keep doing the work. Because if you are, say, 40 years old and you've been speaking to yourself and talking to yourself a certain way, defaulting to a certain thing, you're not going to change it in 1 minute. You have to keep working at it. You can feel a shift in a minute, but you have to, those minutes add up, and you can't just do it for like a day or come to one event and be like, well, that didn't work. Well, you've had programming for 40 some years. You need to keep working at it to reprogram it. I kind of visualize it like a computer program. We all have these computer programs, they're playing in the background. And if you go to do the update, it takes a little bit, right? It's like you have to override it. You're taking the old files out and you're putting the new ones in. That's exactly how it works with your brain. So the affirmation part of this is so powerful, because this is where you start to say, this is who I am. And you start to use your power to recognize, I get to choose the thoughts that I think. I get to actually choose my life experience because of the thoughts that I think and how I frame it in my own mind. So I share a really funny story with you, because you guys are all farmers, okay? You come from farming. So I want you to imagine it's been a drought. It is like dry as all heck, and you got your seed in the ground, the crop's in, it's not growing because it's a drought, okay? Now, your neighbor has a daughter who's getting married, okay? She's planning this beautiful outdoor wedding on the farm, okay? So it's a drought, it's the same season, same community, same area. All of a sudden, it's the wedding day, and it is torrential downpour. And this poor bride is devastated because her wedding is ruined. She can't have the wedding in the yard like she wanted to. They've got no other way to do it. Her wedding day is ruined. In her mind, it's devastating. For the farmer, he's rejoicing. This is the best day ever, right? So it's whatever you give meaning to it, it becomes the meaning of your life. You can take whatever is going on in your life and you can shift the perspective, because nothing has meaning except the meaning that you give it. So in the bride's case, it was the worst thing ever. For the farmer, it was a celebration and it was a blessing. Now, that's an external circumstance that's outside of your control. However, you still have the power in, no matter any situation, how you frame and what meaning you give to something. So when I got divorced, I can be honest with you, when I got divorced and my life ended, I felt like my life was a disaster. Everything I worked for was gone. My business was failing, the dream home we built, my happily ever after family was gone. It was a devastating time for me. And because I was focusing on how devastating it was and everything that I lost, my life felt like it was over. Now, when I fast forward through that, and I'm living in this little tiny 2-bedroom apartment with 3 kids, and I have like a little closet office, and I'm literally sitting in that little office one night being a victim, to be honest, wondering how I landed here and how this is now my life. And in that moment, I was like, wait a second. No one's coming to save you. Why are you giving this? Maybe this is a turning point. You're now free to do whatever you want, and you're young enough to be able to do that. And your kids are looking to you, Corliss, and they need you to lead them through this. They're scared too. So what are you going to do about it? And I picked myself up and I started one step at a time, shifting how I was behaving, what I was thinking, one moment at a time, one step at a time. I started rebuilding my life. I started looking at the decisions, the choices that I made that even landed me where I was in my life, taking full responsibility for it and saying, okay, these are the things that happened. I acknowledged them. I understand them. I knew that I had attracted a relationship that was going to not actually, it mirrored exactly how I felt about myself. I didn't feel I was very good as a human being, and I wasn't enough. And I attracted somebody who treated me exactly that way. So I started examining all of that stuff, doing the work from the inside out, and I started recreating my life one step at a time. Started believing something different, and I got a completely different result. Now, looking back, the meaning I was giving that experience, that this is the end of it all, I'm such a failure, I literally was telling myself that. And I was embarrassed and I was humbled, and all of it was just so devastating for me. When I started recreating my life, started taking my power back and really owning that and reassessing what I believed and how I was behaving and what I was attracting because of it, and I made those changes, now I look back and I realize that was the turning point of actually living my best life and being who I'm here to be. And I'm so grateful for it. It's not like I encourage everybody to go and get divorced and have their life fall apart, but sometimes truly things have to kind of fall apart for us to pull it out and to find out what we're really made of, and there's blessings in that, and it only has meaning whatever meaning you give it. So a lot of people really stay stuck in the past, and they stay living back there, and they're like, I wish it hadn't gone that way, and if that person hadn't done that to me, and if the weather hadn't this, and all these things, if all these things we stay there. And every time we do that, we're giving our power to something else. You can take it back by saying, okay, this is exactly what it is. I'm going to own this. And what am I believing about this? And is this the best belief for me to have about this? And if it's not, what do I want to change? And then you start affirming something different, believing something different, and your life will turn around faster than you can believe it.
Amen. Amen. Every year, Corliss, farmers measure themselves by the bushels produced. Can we flip the equipment? What's our balance sheet? And when you said you were doing the big moonshot for lead, when we talked at Convergence in February, you said, I'm doing this because nobody else can do it. It's my mission. It's on me. I'm not doing this for myself. I'm doing it for others, what I can give to others. And that really impacted me. But when I ask you how it's going, I want you to relate this to the farmer's yield. Because you said, it's going amazing. I'm not looking at the numbers. I'm doing the work. I'm not getting into that trap of worrying about. And so, because farmers can you imagine a farmer who's like counting the yield, like from the first seedling to the
Right.
3-leaf stage to it's going to almost, stick the combine into it to the prices. So imagine every farmer goes through that journey every year, but you've got a different strategy just to focus on the work. And I think that's functional for farmers because the work, at the end of the day, the work is the reward. The work that you're doing at the conference is the reward.
Yes.
And you'll get the 1,111. Yeah.
Yeah.
You'll get there.
Yes. Yes.
Tell us.
Okay. Okay. This is a big thing. So I want to bring it back. So every time, so again, or actually, okay, so when you're talking about the farmer putting in the field and counting everything, okay. So I'm going to relate this to the exact experience of the conference. So actually, I'm going to take it even back. You have to, first of all, love what you do. Do you love what you do? Do you love being a farmer? I mean, my dad, 60 some crops he put in. 60 some harvest he had. My dad loved being a farmer, loved being a farmer. There was all the challenges, there's all the worries, there's all the external things, there's all that stuff. But you know what? The heart of it all, my dad loved being a farmer. So try not to disconnect from how much you love what you do, okay? Just remember how much you love what you do. So when I was debating, should I do the conference again? Should I not do the conference again? So in 2023, I held the conference. It was very tasking on me. It was a massive investment. If you've ever held an event of that caliber, you will understand the hundreds of thousands of dollars I was risking. It was a big undertaking, working very solo on myself, or solo, doing so much of it by myself, and it was a challenge, right? So as the conference was over, here's what else happened that I didn't expect. The conference was over, and because it was the big vision, it was It was the thing. When the thing happened and it was done, I felt completely depleted. It was like, now I got nothing. Nothing inspiring me, nothing moving me forward, no vision anymore. So I felt kind of lost, and kind of down. And I was like, wow. So I went into this whole place of like, what's next for me? What I'm going to do? I was measuring my whole life based on this event. The event's done. Now I don't know what I'm going to do. So as I'm going through this process of really assessing and really looking at like, do I want to do it again? All of a sudden one day I said, Corliss, why do you want to do this? Why is this little thing still inside of you saying, maybe you should do it again. Maybe you should do it again. Like I was thinking like that. And then I said to myself, Corliss, it's because you freaking love it. You love it. You literally love it. It's your passion. You love creating this space for people. You love giving people an opportunity to come together. You are a connector. You bring together the most amazing people. As a matter of fact, I don't know why, but I happen to know that somebody's going to meet at my event this year, man and woman, and they're going to have a family. I don't know why I know that, but I know it's going to happen.
Well, I'm 50, but
Oh,
if you tell my kids,
I don't know.
kids,
Well, I'm not saying it's you, Dan.
I'm excited now. I'm feeling frisky. I mean,
Oh yeah. Okay. Well, I didn't mean to go there, but my point is that I just realized I actually love it. I really love it. I love creating that. This is the work that I love to do. So instead of like, should I, shouldn't I, is this hard? Or, is it going to be worth it? And measuring the numbers and all that stuff. How about just stay in the space and the energy of the fact that I really love this stuff. And this is really important to me. And it feels like I'm living my purpose when I do that. So it was a complete energy shift. So do you see how I just demonstrated for you that my thoughts I was thinking about and worrying about and stressing over the numbers and all that stuff and what that did to me. Whereas as soon as I said, "Okay, wait, I'm gonna flip the script here," and the new script is that I actually love doing this stuff. This isn't stressful. This lights me up. This makes me happy to do it, no matter the outcome. Okay, that creates a different emotion, a different energy, and a different result. Okay, so like I've already taught you. So but we fall back into these patterns. So even me, who has been studying and teaching and doing this work for dozens and dozens and dozens of years, I am the most studied person that I know. And I've been doing all this work. Every once in a while, I falter. And I caught myself doing it on launch day. Launch day for the conference comes around, and they give me the numbers of 86. Now, 86. Just sit with that for a second. My goal is 1,111. I have over 700 people on a wait list waiting to get tickets, and on launch day, 86 people register. So I'm thinking in my mind, this is devastating. Oh my gosh, this is terrible. And fear took over and started consuming me. And then one of my committee members said to me, how many registered today? And I said, 86, just 86, I said. And she's like, oh my God, that's amazing. And she started freaking out excited about 86 people being registered for a conference 7 months in advance on launch day. It wasn't even public yet, by the way. But the reason I share this with you is because you see the difference. I was thinking about all the spaces that were still open. I was focusing my energy on that, and then fear started to take over. She comes in with a different perspective, and I start saying to myself, wow, maybe she's right. Maybe that is good. I don't know. How do I measure it, right? So here's what I decided after that. I don't want to live in fear anymore. And I know in my own mind that actually tricks my brain. Every time I see a number, my brain goes there, and I don't want to give any energy to that. So what I've chosen to do, and this is what Dan's talking about, is I'm just living in the mind. I don't care. I know there's going to be 1,111 people there, and they're going to be all the right people, and it's going to be absolutely magic and perfect energy. And by the way, men are welcome. Please come and lead the way and do this. So all the men should be there. They should be there with their wives. They should be there with their guy group. I don't know. Everybody needs this kind of
a potential
stuff.
partner. as
You
well.
could meet a potential partner, a quality woman who's in that room, by the way. So anyway, so what I'm saying is
Fair.
like I'd rather stay in my mind. I'd rather stay in the vision of what I know and believe can happen because I know how powerful our thoughts are. And every time I get a number, I get into my analytical brain and I start to like think I have to carry it all. And I get fear can take over and I don't want to live there. I want to live in the heightened energy of it's all working out exactly as it's supposed to. I love this work. I love what I'm creating. I love bringing people together. This is important. And this is just one element of what I do. I'm living my purpose right now teaching with all of you. I'll live my purpose at that event. I'll live my purpose all the time because this is just the work. It's not about one event. Just like the TEDx, everybody's making this like, oh, you did a TEDx. I'm like, yeah, I did a TEDx. Incredible. But when I examined it, why did I do a TEDx? I did a TEDx because it's an element of what I teach. This is just the work I do, and this is what I love and what I believe. And everywhere I do it, I'm fulfilling my purpose by being who I am and sharing what I know. And that's a choice.
And how many amazing journeys have been ruined by worry, including farming? It's the greatest thing if you're a farmer. Bring it home for us. Wrap it up. What would I guess I'm curious in the end about your mother because I don't know. Did she have any that epiphany? Did she learn the technology? What would you say to her now?
My mom's the cutest ever. She's the cutest ever. She's still a work in progress with accepting it. So what ended up happening was I did these interviews with the TEDx. So they have these TEDx coaches. So for those of you that don't know what TEDx is, please, Dan, make sure that everybody gets a link to
Okay.
watch the
Okay.
talk. Okay, it's only a 9-minute talk, but so in this talk or in the preparation they assign these coaches to me and the coaches are asking me all these kinds of like stories that validate the idea that I have, the perspective I want to bring to the world through the TEDx stage. And surprisingly to me, when they came back, the story about my mom is the one that they pulled out, and they said, you have to share that story. And I was like, oh, I don't think I can do that. I am 100% confident my mom will say absolutely not. And it's very vulnerable. It's her story. But then I thought, see, I acknowledged it and I was like, assess it. And I'm like, why wouldn't I give my mom a chance to decide for herself? Maybe I should ask my mom. So I phoned my mom up. My mom doesn't have internet. She doesn't have a computer. She doesn't know any of this stuff. And I said, Mom, there's this thing called TEDx. I've been invited to do it. I was sharing the story. The coaches think I should tell the story about you. And my mom was like, why would my story be impactful for anyone? And I said, well, because Mom, a lot of people feel like they're not worthy. And a lot of people feel like they have to prove that they are. And they don't have purpose unless they prove it. And you felt like you did nothing with your life. And she got really quiet, really quiet. And I was like, what's going to happen? And then my mom said, you know what, sweetheart? I never will have a place that I can share something that I've learned, but you do, so you should use it to help people.
That's awesome.
And she gave me permission. And it actually makes me emotional just thinking about the fact that my beautiful mama gave me a chance to share her with the world. Because here's the thing, my mom in that moment actually validated exactly what I'm teaching you here. That she decided that her story, her lessons, her life is worthy of sharing. She embraced it and then she used it how she chose for a purpose to impact someone else. And that's where it landed. So I contacted my mom just before it went public and I said, Mom, I just want to remind you that I have no power over who sees this. This is going to go out on the internet and this is going to go to the world, and are you sure you're okay? And she said, honey, I'm so over what people think of me. You go and you share it, and if it can help somebody, then that's good. And that's it. So she's come a long way even through this.
That's incredible. That's a wonderful bookend to the story of your mother's life, and she really did have a lot of purpose in the end. I mean,
Sure did.
it's
But
just
she
a
had to
frame.
give that to herself. That's the thing. You have to give it to yourself. It wouldn't matter when Christina was asking me that on the stage, or my mom was going through this. it's like you have to be able to give it to yourself. You have to believe that about yourself. So this is what's important for everybody to know, is that you have full power, full control over your story, how you frame it, what you believe, what you think, the actions that you take, what guides your life. It is your life to lead. So you just need to really own that and recognize it and know that it matters, and you have all the power in the world.
I love it. Give us the deets on the conference. Hopefully some folks will be inspired to join us there. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Oh, it's going to be so good. It's going to be so good. So fun. So fun. So many great speakers. So if you
Yeah.
go to corliss.ca/lead, LEAD 2026, you will be routed to the page where you can learn more about it and get your tickets. And I hope you do.
Absolutely. And what else do you have going on? You're always teaching, you're always coaching, you're always traveling, you're always speaking.
Yes, I am. I actually just came back from a speaking tour, and I'm done now until August 28th when the next tour starts. Right now, the focus is really on the conference. But of course, I have a podcast, I have classes. If you're really someone who wants to do the deep inner work, like really work on this and do it at a self pace, then the Call to Lead program is actually where I would really invite you to join me, because that's a self-paced program. That's actually, the coaches are the ones the trainers, the people in that program are the people that I actually coach and work with. And it's for everyone. Trevor is Called to Lead trained. So Trevor is Dan keeps talking about Trevor. Trevor is an extraordinary man, and he's done the work, and he's actually certified and trained through me. We work together on the same team. So that would be a program that I would highly encourage you to look at. It is worth every single dollar investment, because you're worth every dollar in investment. And my idea with this program, Called to Lead, is that it's for the people who really believe that if you work on yourself, and that leadership is a reflection of who you are in the world, it's about impact and it's about influence. And when you show up in the world as the best version of yourself, it impacts in your home, it impacts in your career, in your community. So who you are is how you lead, and that program helps you be the person that you can be.
Well, and if anybody has any doubt about the results, I am the testimonial to the efficacy of your coaching and leadership. And let's just say, folks, winning feels great. But I'm not attached to the winning, but that's part of why I'm winning, because I'm not attached to it. Do you get it?
Yeah,
Psych.
that's amazing.
Psych. It's
Dan, I
weird, eh?
just gotta say, I'm so proud of you. Like, I'm so proud of you. I know you should be proud of yourself, but I just gotta tell you, when I look back on where you were and where you are, it is just, it makes everything, all this, everything. It's like everything works. You just gotta work it, and you worked it, my friend, and you're just shining. So
Thank you so
congratulations.
much. Well, thanks for coming on. It's great to connect with you again. I want this message for our community. I see the numbers. I know the culture, and we can, just like you talked about a computer, like defragging. We can defrag our. Remember in the '90s when computers
Yeah.
they were defragging their hard drive.
Uh-huh.
So we got to do, folks. You got to plug it in and update that CPU, and we can do this. We got this. I'm proud of us in agriculture. So thanks so much for doing this. Thanks for everybody that came on, and I hope to see you at Lead Conference in November. It's going to be amazing.
Fantastic. Thank
Thanks,
you. Bye,
Corliss.
everyone. Thanks for joining.